Mr. Puri, in an aim to attempt the common man, the government has decided to cut LPG prices by 200 rupees per cylinder. But my next question is, so that who will be bearing the impact, government or OMCs? And you'll appreciate the spirit of my question, sir. The reason I'm asking this is because there is a perception that the impact would be borne by OMCs and they could take a hit of about 7,500 crore.
First of all, let me thank you very much for having me on your show. And as is your style and ET now, you've come to the very heart of the issue. I think the reduction in price of the cylinder by 200 rupees has been welcomed by all, barring a few of my cynical friends on the opposition, in the opposition benches, some in the House and some outside. This is always a question whenever you deal with energy as to who will take the, bear the burden of a price reduction. You know, in an ideal world where, you would allow market forces to establish the price of petrol and diesel at the bunk or piped gas, natural gas or gas cylinders, in a world which was completely, let's say, I choose my words very carefully, free from all desires to cushion the common man, you could have chaos. And let me give you a few examples of what that chaos could be. The price of crude oil is determined by a global situation. We are dependent up to 80% of our requirements on imports for crude oil, about 55–60% on the import of natural gas. Now, if you were to add to the cost of production, the cost of insurance, the cost of freight, refining cost, refiner's margin, dealer's margin, etc., then you would not be able to control the price if it went up as it did from $19.56 a barrel. It shot up to $128 a barrel. But what do? Sometimes the government takes a hit. Like, for instance, on 2 occasions when it came to petrol and diesel, the Honorable Prime Minister reduced the price, reduced the excise we charge, and the price came down by 13 rupees and 16 rupees, November 21 and again May 22. And when it comes to gas, you had a very interesting situation. Our OMCs incurred a loss of 28,000 crores. Now, they are not operating on their own money, they raise money in the market. So you had to compensate them. So that 28,000 crores was compensated up to an extent of 22,000 crores. So in other words, you have a very interesting situation starting from sometimes in 2014. I was just going through a news clip which my friend and senior Vijay Kelkar had sometimes in December 2014, when the price of a cylinder was something like 1,173 rupees. And he was saying, let the price go up, don't, because the fiscal deficit. Here we've got everything under control. You have a situation in 2014, an average person paid higher for a cylinder cost. He also paid for all the other services. Today, 80 crore of our citizens are getting 3 meals of dry ration in a day. You built Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, you built toilets, and yet the gas cylinder price has come down from 1,100 to 900. There are 32 crore connections. And for those who are beneficiaries of the Ujjwala scheme, it has come down. It means that they were getting another 200 rupees directly into their khata or DBT. So that is there. Now, please see, in 2014, you had 14 crore connections. That has gone up to 32 crores or thereabout. Out of them, 9 crore 60 lakhs are beneficiaries of Ujjwala. When you give somebody an Ujjwala connection, you are incurring already an expenditure of 3,600 rupees. Now, every cylinder that they draw, they are allowed to draw up to 12 cylinders. They probably draw only up to 3.7 or 4 cylinders. They get 200 rupees per cylinder. Now, what does that mean? If you take, let's say, the average of 3.7 cylinders in a year, you take 365 days, you divide it, it comes to a 7 rupees expenditure per family on gas. And you're already giving them 3 meals of dry ration free. Plus, if I count all the other facilities that have been given, look at the situation in 2014 and what it is in 2023. I just want to make one final submission to you, my friend, that if you are to insulate the common man, I mean the economically weaker sections, the people who live below the poverty line, then both the government and the OMCs will have to do it. It's not as if the OMCs are collapsing. I can say with a degree of satisfaction that the OMCs today have registered very reasonable and healthy financial results. I'm choosing my words carefully. There are quarters when they do better than other quarters. But I think when the Prime Minister decides that the price of a cylinder, a 14-kilo cylinder, has to come down on the occasion of Onam and Raksha Bandhan by 200 rupees, the OMCs are happy, the country is happy. Some of my friends, cynical on the side of the opposition, are cribbing a bit, but you know, their cynicism and their statements, which are irrelevant, I think will not be taken. It's being lapped up. It's been warmly welcomed by every sister of ours to whom the Prime Minister, as the Pratham Sevak, has given this Raksha Bandhan gift.
Sir, I just distinctly remember in December 2022 when we spoke about high energy prices because of war, your words were, OMCs have to play their role of being a good corporate citizen, and I'm glad they are playing that. Do you think increasingly that role will be played more given that crude is back above $85 now?
First of all, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for recalling my statement of December 22. When I described the OMCs as good corporate citizens, it was meant both as an encouragement and as my, subtle message to them that, you know, in a crisis situation and global prices are very high, you should not, look at short-term profits, because the OMCs have large businesses. Some of them make big profits in a quarter, some less, but they're all doing reasonably well. Okay, now, oil prices today are around 85 or so. I am not unduly concerned because there is a large economy where the levels of consumption will remain to be seen. Plus, there is a voluntary cutback by OPEC Plus, and they are cutting back to keep their prices above 80. But you know, I've maintained this repeatedly. If you keep oil prices at a high in a situation which is inflationary for a variety of reasons, there were stimulus packages, interest rates are still shooting up, then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then along with inflation, you get high oil prices, and then there's a tipping point at which demand begins to fall. So we are in that territory, but I can take advantage of your kindness and my ability to speak to your viewers that we are in a very comfortable position on availability, on affordability, and on sustainability. So on all counts, I think the Honorable Prime Minister and his guidance has ensured that we are in a position of reasonable safety and comfort.
Mr. Puri, the PSU stocks in general have created wealth for government and for minority shareholders because the entire PSU space now has got re-rated. But everybody is trying to still understand that is the government committed for PSU minority shareholders to make money, and the purpose of OMCs, will it be always be a good corporate citizen, or they will always reward the minority shareholders also? Again, you'll appreciate the question and the spirit of the question, sir.
No, I appreciate the incisiveness of your question. Do you keep OMCs only to make them good corporate citizens? Certainly not. You would not be able to run the economy if you keep asking any sector, any segment to bear the cost of, at the expense of market forces. No, you have to navigate a careful and chartered course through this. You have to ensure that the shareholders who have invested in them get their returns, and the shareholders are rewarding them by investing more in them. I mean, when I came onto the scene 2 years plus ago, we had one company, I'm not going to name it, everybody said it's ready for disinvestment, etc. Today, it's one of our star performers. Now, there are situations in which you cannot save a PSU, or you should not. I was civil aviation minister when we had to deal with Air India, and I was clear. I could not go on every year to my senior colleague Nirmala ji and ask for 8,000 crores of handout to keep Air India afloat. So we took a tough call, we privatized it, and today the rest is history. Today Air India is ordering, 500 or 800 more crores. They're adding to the civil aviation manufacturing industry in the world. Boeing, Airbus placing orders. Look at another Indian airline, private sector airline. They're all in private sector now, by the way. Ordering another 700-800 plane. So governments have to step in with clear-headed and far-sighted decision-making. So the energy sector is now one in which the OMCs are doing well, and if the OMCs are occasionally asked to assume one of their many roles as good corporate citizens, they are not unhappy to do so, because when the country grows, the OMCs grow also. And these OMCs are now big players internationally. One of them is the 7th largest oil company in the world. So I think we should rejoice at the fact that the OMCs are playing ball with us.
Last but one question, I'll not extend our appointment beyond that. The big success story for 2022 was India's oil diplomacy, where we were able to get oil at a discount from Russia. Now we understand that the discount from Russia is decreasing. Is that true?
First of all, what you describe as the outstanding, diplomatic success story about getting discounted oil from one source, let me share with you my perception. We have done 2 or 3 things. We have diversified the sources of our supply. It used to be 27 countries, now it's 39 countries. And by the way, we are very clear in our minds that we will buy oil from wherever we can get it, as long as it is delivered to our point of importation at our ports at the lowest possible price. So we used to have a classical situation where out of the 5 million barrels in a day that we used to consume, we used to import, it was evenly divided between 800,000 barrels from one supplier to another. Now those suppliers change, and we have this very interesting situation that sometimes Iraq becomes the largest supplier, sometimes Russia. Discounts are a function of buying and selling. If the Russians think that they can sell the price, their crude, or if Saudi Arabia thinks it can sell the crude more expensive and people will buy it, discounts will not happen. But we are playing something called a market card. And I'm very happy to go on record. If India doesn't buy the 5 million barrels, or it's going to go up to 6 million barrels, please let me know where you're going to sell from. So discounts will always be part of the game, whether they come from one source or another. Yes?
India has started doing rupee trade with UAE. That really could be the game changer. Has it started, or is it only at a very experimental stage? And if it has started, do you see the rupee trade with UAE could be the game-changing moment for India and for our energy security?
I would want to be modest and circumspect about this. Yes, we have a rupee dirham arrangement with the UAE, but the transactions in the oil sector are very minimum. So this is just a process which has started. It will require a comfort level on all sides, and there are other factors. Next time when we meet, we'll have a detailed exchange on that. And this is more in the realm of another colleague of mine. I deal with the commodity. I would be very happy to see more rupees being used, rupee payments being made. But just now it's at an infant stage.